Welcome to another episode of the Small Business and Entrepreneur Podcast from Harlequin Podcast. I hope you have a great day. This episode is a little bit spooky. So, if you're one of those who are easily scared, go and bring a teddy bear when you listen or watch this so you don't get scared. Because I would like to welcome Mary Jo Woodruff from Terrell Paranormal Podcast and Terrell Ghosts. Hi, Mary Jo.
Hello, Celia. I'm glad to be here today.
How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm doing great.
Raining outside. When we record this, it's kind of like really pouring down outside. I just looked
Yes,
and I realized it was raining more than I thought it was.
yes, it's raining here as well. I'm in Terrell, and yes, it's raining, and it's cold. But it's Texas, so just wait a little bit, it'll change.
Right, right. It is, yes. We are recording this in January, by the way. It's going to be broadcasted in March. So have that in mind. If the sun is now shining and people watching this and listening, they're like, what are they talking about? Well, it's January when we are recording this. That's why.
That's
So,
why.
Mary Joe, I have known you for 10 years,
Well,
like
probably since about 2012, something like that.
something like that. And it came because I was actually a part of your company for a little bit at Terrell Ghost Walk.
Yes, yes.
That is interesting. So, let me ask this first. How do you come in? Because you're running this business with your daughter. How do you
Well,
come
yes,
into
I would like to say my daughter is running it with me. I'm sorry Brenda's not able to be here today. And I will say she is at this moment interviewing a possible medium to work with us. And it's unfortunate, but we did have this conflict last minute. But, I've been with her since day one, but she's the brain behind this operation.
But how do you even come in to paranormal the paranormal world? And because you're doing a lot of things. You're doing podcasts, you're doing paranormal investigations, you're writing books, you're doing ghost tours, all this within the paranormal world. How do you even come in to that genre?
Well, would you like me to kind of start at the beginning of our adventure?
Yes.
I was here volunteering I don't live in Terrell, but I was volunteering here at a nonprofit facility, and this place was I like to say that building walks and talks, but I was experiencing things there, as were many other people. My daughter she had a thriving massage therapy practice that she'd been doing for 20 years. And she developed an illness and she was no longer physically able to do that work. We did a weekend in Jefferson, Texas.
Spooktown.
Yeah, chance. Her son, my grandson, was 14, and he went with us, of course. We had experiences. We we joined a ghost walk there that is operated by Jody Breckenridge. I'm sorry, Jody Breckenridge. Outstanding. If you're in Jefferson, take her ghost walk. And so we had an experience there. I do photography just casually, and quite um, quite by accident, I guess, I captured a full body apparition on a photo that I was taking at one of the haunted venues. And boy, that just threw us into a tailspin. And I was retired. I'd been retired for a few years. She was not working, and that's kind of how we got started in it. We had both always had an interest in paranormal and UFO and name it. And I raised her that way, and she raised the grandson that way. So that's kind of what took off. She came into Terrell and began meeting and visiting with other small business owners here that in the historic district. They had stories. They they had stories, and they were happy to share them with us. For the most part, most of them were happy to share them with us. So we decided we would study um, paranormal investigations, and we were mentored by a long, well-established group out of kind of Irving, DFW area. They were all professionals. The leader of that group was a paleontologist. I mean, they were just professionals, and they whipped us into shape, I guess you can say. So that's how we began, and we began doing investigations, and we continue doing that. Then, but um, Brenda needed, we really needed some kind of income stream for her. So she began the Ghost Walk here, and we kind of based it on the experience we had in Jefferson. And that, uh, and my 14, 15, 16-year-old grandson was the uh, lead tour guide, and they loved him. I mean, he's just this big kid. And they would come in and they'd pay their $20 and they'd mumble, this kid's going to be our guide. And then they would come back just raving because he's young, he had a sense of humor, and he knew the stories, he knew the history, and loved it. And he did that. And then unfortunately, he grew up and moved away with his girlfriend. But I've done some along as far I did some as well with him. But it just evolved. And then we decided, we've got a lot of experiences here in this historic area. And we decided to write a book about it. And we did do that. I'll show you. It's The Ghost Stories of Terrell, Texas.
There you go. Where can you find that book?
You can find it on Amazon. If you're local here, you can find it at Books and Crannies. But you can find it on any of your book selling platforms. But very easily on Amazon. It's The Ghost Stories. The photograph that we used on the cover is a photograph of a light post at the side of one of the historic buildings downtown, the old First National Bank, which was built in 1904. And this is kind of a gargoyle, character that is on a light post at the back of that building. So that's what we chose. But it talks about our experiences in Terrell and the small businesses here that, shared their stories with us. It's not a particularly spooky story, but it's very historical and yet contemporary. So it's got a lot of information in it, I think, because one of the things we wanted to do was really study the history of this downtown Terrell. Terrell was founded in 1873. Many, many, many the original buildings that were put up downtown in the late 1800s, early 1900s are still there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just kind of gathered it up as our own. We love the city. And I will say, now, as far as the podcasting, that is, popular. Different things become popular over time, as has the paranormal. With the advent of all ghost hunting shows on television, the paranormal has become a pretty, somewhat accepted genre, and so that helped us in getting started. Now, but that's not to say that everyone here was glad to have us doing that. You know, we're in the Bible Belt here, and
Yes.
so there were a lot of folks that kind of had a knee jerk reaction to it, and so we dealt with that quite a bit. Um, but I think that's pretty much been resolved. We've drawn tourists to the town through the ghost walks over the years. I mean, we've been doing this since 2014. So there's that. So that, and then it evolved into the podcast because that's a popular venue now, and we enjoy doing it. And I'm tickled to death to perhaps help you get yours running on the ground and running.
Yes,
Great
thank
job.
you. Well, it's always a give and take, you get a little bit of advertising through me, and I get a little bit of
Yes,
advertising through you. That's what small business is all about.
it
We
is.
encourage and just support each other because you're in this quote unquote alone. Um, and that's my next question. Paranormal is a very specific, special field, and I bet there is you have the paranormal community around you,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
do you feel a little bit sometimes that you are out there by yourself and people don't really understand what you're doing because it's so different?
Yes. Uh, People do not, and you don't have to believe in the paranormal per se to enjoy the things that we're offering. Um, if you want to listen to the podcast or go on the ghost walk and, kind of be laughing in the back of your head, that's fine. But what happens is people do not believe in the paranormal until they have had their own experience.
Mhm.
I mean the naysayers. Now, a lot of people do, just as matter of course. But those naysayers, once they have an experience, oh yeah, they turn fast. They do.
Yes.
But we welcome everyone to our events. We welcome them because, well, we just do. And
Well, you have
I,
so many interesting stories. You walk around around Terrell, and each building you stop at has so much interesting history, so many interesting stories
yes.
that you just, regardless if you believe it or not, you get captivated by the stories.
Well, I hope you get captivated because, I mean, we did a deep, deep dive and continue all the time into the history of Terrell. And because we believe that's important, not just talking about, a shop owner's experience that they had. To us, it's important to know the history of that building or, the one next door to it because spirits don't know walls. And that's very interesting to us, and we hope to project that on the ghost walk. Now, our ghost walk has changed considerably since its inception. Originally, we would have one or two tour guides and would take any number of guests on a walking tour of the downtown historic area, and we have stories and about all these spots that we would take the guests to. However, Brenda began. She started the ghost walks back up a year ago because we had a couple 3 years where we were not able to do them. My grandson had moved out of town, and she wasn't. I wasn't able to do it, and she wasn't either physically. But she began them a couple of years ago. She changed the format entirely. Genius. Now the walk is limited to 6 guests, just 6 guests,
Mhm.
and that gives everyone the opportunity to kind of be a participant in a mini investigation. She takes a small amount of the electronic equipment that we use, and not just electronic. We use dowsing rods, and there's 3 or 4 locations that she goes to, and they'll sit on the front steps because right now we don't have access to the buildings except for the building our office is in, the Brin building. They know her, Celia. They know her, um, but we have probably investigated each one of these buildings. Uh, I mean, she gets EVPs. They respond to her. There's one location, the museum that I won't name it specifically, sit on those steps, and they will say, using a spirit box, they will say, "She's here, she's here,
She's here. They
she's
know what's going on.
she's here."
It's time for us to be spooky.
Yeah, yeah, but those are happy spirits there.
Yeah.
They're usually not rude or anything. Honestly, there's one building here that we did have access to the basement for a couple of years, and those were not happy spirits there. And one of their favorite things to say on that spirit box was "F you." Seriously. And you know,
Poor guests.
we've gotten that in other locations too, you know, where we've gone. You know, they're just some of them are happy to see and some of them are not. But but at any rate, that's kind of the way she operates the Ghost Walk now, and so they're able to get a hands-on um, with the equipment and hear it. And you can't do that with a big crowd. We would have on the previous walk we might have 5 people, we might have 40 people. We didn't know, you know, they just showed up. Now you need to go online to our website and make a reservations, and that way she's able to limit to 6 people.
And
She's
that must also be easier for you to also organize and know what to expect a little
Yes.
better.
Now,
40 people, you have 20 like lacking behind 2 stops back,
yes,
and they will miss half the tour, I guess. So
you
6
know,
people is more.
you've experienced our tour before. Mhm.
Yeah, on the old version. I'm not
Yes.
on the new versions. I'm like I should do this. When do you do the tours?
Uh, Routinely, it's Saturday night. It's every Saturday night, and you gather at 8 p.m. and it will last 2 hours or 3 hours, kind of depending on how the guests are and the kind of responses you're getting. Uh, at the Toward the end of the tour, they're able to come back to this building here where our office is, which is the historic Brin building, which was originally a theater. And our office is here. They can come to the office, and she's also they will they'll do some EVP work on the interior staircase and around in the building. I'm not Your guests may not know what EVP is. That is an electronic voice phenomena. That is a voice that we receive through what we call a spirit box, which is basically a broken radio
Okay.
and other means. We've had a lot of interest this last couple of years in dowsing rods. We get on some locations, and often the guests want to try their hand at it, and it can be a lot of fun. Now, given we can't always just call them up at will,
They do what they want.
that yes, they do, but usually, at least 1 or 2 spots, if not more, um, she gets some reaction that the guests can experience themselves. It's fun.
Fun. It
you,
is fun.
you initially asked me about how was the paranormal accepted here. I mean, we joined the Chamber of Commerce, and they have been very supportive of us. The Chamber of Commerce has, and you know, I worked here previously. I volunteered with a nonprofit, and I knew some of the state. I'm sorry, some of the city officials, etc. They have not given us any problems. They encourage us. During the ghost walk, on occasion, we'll have police officers. They will stop and say, "Oh, I got a story for you," and they have
That's awesome. We
they
have a
have
great police
shared.
department in Terrell. Absolutely.
Yes, yes, and the sometimes the firemen would stop um, when we had the office next door where we are here in the Farmers Insurance Building. We had an office at the back of that building. And there were a few nights that the fire truck, I guess they were just out cruising, but they would stop at the back door and they'd come in and visit with us. So
That's cool though.
there's only been a handful of folks that, and they were vocal um, to the chamber, etc. But um, we've been fortunate to have the support of most of the town, and we try to be respectful of the history and of the building and of the shop owners. And we've made some really good friends throughout this, including you. So, they learned that I'm a retired federal auditor. Now, there you go. How kinky can I be? I love the paranormal. I love the paranormal. I raised my kids on Stephen King novels. So there you go.
I hope so. If we go into all the investigations, paranormal investigations, let's say I have a something I want to have investigated. Can you help me with that? How does all that work?
Yes, if you're having, mhm, especially if someone's having incidents in their home, we don't charge for these investigations. But now we do have to kind of review and interview, and we can't just accept everyone that might be requested of us. Uh, we can do some preliminary work to, see if it might really be paranormal or if it's, raccoons in the attic, things like that. You would contact us. We'd interview you on the telephone. Brenda and I would interview you in person at the location. We have a kind of a lengthy questionnaire that, we like to have at least if, at least have them fill out, or at least it's a template that we can go through and ask specific questions, that might apply to these incidences that you're having. We just be sure everybody there is on board and they understand our process. Then we will schedule a time to go back there, um, take our equipment, and a couple investigators, depending on the area and everything. It may take more than just Brenda and I, but that's kind of what we do. We'll set up your equipment. And of course, everything's not equipment driven, but we will experience this location. Then we pack up and go home, and it may take us a couple of weeks to go through that. We run an audio recorder continuously the whole time we're there. That's the first thing we do. We turn on an audio recorder. We generally wear then individual audio recorders, strapped to our arm.
Hmm.
This gives us this gives us a record of what went on, whether we heard it in real time or not. Because, and then I'm usually the one that sits down and reviews all that audio, and it takes a long time
Oh yeah.
to do that. It takes time, and we use software, an auto editing software. And when I say edit, that's just so that we can, amplify it or not. And very often you will hear voices or things that we don't hear in real time. Now I'll tell you, if you're hearing voices in real time with your ears in real time out there, there's something going on there.
Oh yeah.
And we've also experienced that. But these audio recordings are a big basis. Now, I generally do photography, take lots and lots and lots of photographs. And I'm not knocking cell phones, but I don't do it with a cell phone. I have a professional grade camera. Lots and lots and lots of photographs. And there's a protocol. There's the way you do that. And I have a handful of mind-boggling photographs that I have collected over the last 9 years of doing this. Um, and here again, they were things that we did not see uh, with our eyes when we were there and when I was taking the photographs, but they appeared in the digital photograph. And so, and that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
They will let you see and hear or feel what they want when they want. Yeah, that's the process. So it will take us some time after the physical investigation to go through all this material, to do it real justice. Then we will go back and sit down with the folks. We will sit down with them face to face and show them any evidence and go through, just talk through what we found or did not find. And so sometimes we're surprised as much as anybody by what is revealed. Sometimes there's nothing, and you just have to look for other reasons. and that might even be
A rainy day.
yeah, rainy day or family dynamics that
Mm.
can also stress things like that can create issues. So
'Cause
we
I remember from the ghost walk, to go back to that, when I was, joining one of the ghost walks, it was drizzling a little bit this evening, and we had so much activity and people looking up in the windows, and it was this, I think they almost came back more scared than they have ever been, and we said, "It's probably because of the weather," because it was really one of those
yeah, yeah. Oh,
wet,
weather, yes.
and it was just, like, drizzling, and it was, like, people sitting in the window and just looking at us like, "Are you having fun out
You
there?"
having fun now? Well, it was always fun occasionally, we'd have a medium, just, somebody maybe we didn't know. But usually by the end of the tour, they were telling us, oh, well, I'm sensitive, I'm a medium. And very often, one of the buildings in particular, they would say, they're standing up there on the roof watching us,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Yeah.
And we had never thought of that because what we knew about were shadow figures that would go up and down the sidewalk there. I'm talking about the old city hall
Right.
outside, but they're invariably. And then also one of the routes down the alleyway, down the backs of all these historical buildings, and more than one medium said they're there watching us and they're tickled because they're getting attention.
Yeah.
We're
And a
paying.
lot of kids sitting in the windows
Yes,
and watching us. I
yes.
remember that. I was like,
Were
"Okay."
you with the walk that night when we sat on the curb, literally across the street from? I call it the Anderson Building. You probably know it as the Hard Bodies Building.
Our bodies, yeah.
The third and fourth floors were vacant, boarded up.
Yes.
There were lights dancing,
Yep.
dancing from window to window on the third floor, and there was no explanation for it. There was no one in there.
Yeah, and just the when we were talking about the pictures and you taking pictures, people coming back and looking at the pictures that they didn't really see at the time. But then I remember Brenda told me, she texted me or emailed me, whatever she did, and it was like, "Look at this picture." They saw it when they came back, and there's something in that picture. They
Yeah,
had, like,
yeah,
gotten it up on their computer, whatever, and
yeah,
they're like,
yes.
"Wow."
One of our, I say favorite spirits, but one of the child spirits that we believe wanders downtown. We called Lizzie, and there's, I guess, captured what could be Lizzie in an upstairs window of one of the buildings during the walk.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's very interesting, and then people like, okay, people who do not believe in it, and
Mhm.
they're still skeptic despite the pictures, they're trying to come up with all these explanations of what it can be, and
Yeah, yeah, and we try not to just fall over everything and say, "Oh, that's a ghost" or whatever. But of course, you just got to be open minded, and
right,
you can believe it or not. So,
right, right, absolutely, but and it's hard, but it's fun. If you are open-minded and you are interested in history and all that, it's a lot of fun,
mhm,
uh,
mhm.
I think at least.
Oh,
I
I do too.
had
I do
when
too.
when I moved here.
And Brenda's husband, they're both very, very patient with all this, and they just say, "Don't bring it home with you." Now, I've succeeded in that so far. Brenda, not so much. She's had a couple of things tag along home with her, but then she's also inclined to pick up what is perceived to be a haunted item and take it home. Now we have the office here, so they're all up here, but she would have experiences with them at home.
That's it. Well, when I moved here, we moved to a big farm, out in Elmo. That's
Uh-huh.
between Terrell and Wills Point for those of you who don't know, and it's like a stake in the ground that's the size of it. And this is so fun. I'm gonna tell you probably heard this story before, but we had the longest stairs in this house, long stairs. And mom, first of all, rest in peace, mom, but she believed in ghosts 100%. There was no doubt about it. Like she could talk to them. Um, and we're sitting watching TV, and both of us at the same time look towards the stairs, and there is somebody walking in the stairs. And I look at my mom and I look back, and she's like, "There was somebody there." Sure enough, it was. I was like, "Yep, somebody walked in." And that was just the first time that happened. It happened frequently. So there is a ghost in that house. Well, then we had a friend of ours coming from Sweden, and I joked with him. I did not know at the time that he was afraid of ghosts, like livid afraid of ghosts. And I just joked with him and I said, "I hope you're not afraid of ghosts because we have one walking up and down the stairs." And he's like, "Well, that's funny. They're not there." Yeah, that's he really denied everything. He didn't tell me, but he that he was so afraid of him. And a couple of days in his visit, we're sitting the same place in the couch recliners watching TV. And I see it, mom see it coming down the stairs, and we'd warn him, like, "Hey, FYI, don't be scared. They're just walking up and down." And he really rejected. It's like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever. It's not." And I just glance over at mom. She always was on my left side, and mom just, "Hmm." That was all she did. It didn't take 10
She,
seconds from
yeah.
that until he stood up and busted out the door. He had seen them. He's like, "I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not. I saw it. I'm out." I thought he was gonna take in a hotel, like, but
Well, then he obviously believed in it. He just didn't like it.
right. He was bef before it was more of like, I am going to deny it because I haven't seen proof of it. And then I joked about it. It's like, "Yeah, we have somebody walking up and down the stairs. La la ha ha." You know, at that point we've been there for a while, so we were used to it. It's like it didn't do us any harm.
Right.
But for him, having that, like, joke and then probably some underlying fear of it, of the unknown,
Yes.
and then I
Yes.
had brought it up, and then he actually saw it, and that was too much for him. It was so fun. We both me and mom, we were laughing so hard.
Yes. Well, it's like I said earlier, very often they don't believe it until they have their own experience, and then how they react is remains to be seen.
I did not expect him to have that reaction and really bust for the door, and it took him good half an hour for me to convince him to walk in the door.
And very often it's the big guys, it's these big guys, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, we had an experience with that when we first began the ghost walks. We were not sure what it was going to be like on the streets, in the historic district after dark, and we just didn't know. We didn't had not had experience with that. So a friend of Brenda's came, and he was going to. He said, I'll walk with you till we see what's going on. And I mean, this guy was probably 6'6" and 350 pounds, and
He's good.
carried, and he was a good guy. But and I guess that was reassuring. And we've never had any problems, except that he actually had an experience. We were,
Security guard.
and it happened in the restroom of Books and Crannies.
Oh, oh yeah, that's I've heard
Do you
this.
remember that?
I
So,
yeah, now I'm
oh
here.
yeah, oh yeah, he came flying out of there. He came flying out of there, and so he was convinced.
Yeah, sometimes it takes people a little bit and then boom, oh crap, it
Yeah,
actually is there,
yeah.
and but it's fun. So how about we were talking about that book. What is your plans now for the next 5 years or the next year?
Well, we're first going to we're working on uh, a re-edit and an updating of with some additional information that we have about this book talks about um, the some of the historic buildings and paranormal information that we have been uh, given about, for example, the old train depot, um, the Iris, which is an old movie theater, and so it talks about that goes through these some of the buildings downtown Terrell. It's all about Terrell. Now we have quite a uh, a lot of investigation under our belt. And so our next, after we release, we re-release this with some updated information. Um, we hope to release a book talking about some of our paranormal investigations and what we found there and that sort of thing. Now, we respect confidentiality of these folks. We do not we do not tell we do not reveal names, addresses, things like that. We do not. However, almost almost entirely they agree that we may use the experience, and the evidence for things like that for podcasts or books.
How do you find guests to your podcasts? Because you've had a couple of guests.
We have we've met a lot of folks in the various communities. Um, just yesterday, or no, I'm sorry, it was on Saturday. We interviewed a gentleman who is an exorcist,
Ooh,
and
how
but
did that go?
we we meet people just as a result of, because we don't just sit here in the office. We meet people in other towns and in other uh, subject matters, and they're usually very willing. Now, Brenda gets most of the contacts, I will say, but of course she's on the she's more of a face of this process probably than I am. I'm always behind her saying yes, ma'am. You know, that's something else. We have had you think, well, a mother and a daughter, and I give Brenda the credit for getting this business here. She's very knowledgeable in marketing. Her degree was in marketing. She's outgoing and smart. She loves technology, and so I've just tried to support her. But we know people that own haunted hotels. We and you meet people like that.
Yeah.
So we've not had any problem. Sometimes scheduling, as you probably know, is the problem. But I will tell you that uh, Brenda's also a MUFON investigator. MUFON is the Mutual UFO Network. And
Oh,
it's a worldwide organization. It is a private organization. It is not government run or funded, and it's all volunteer. And she has taken the courses to be certified as an investigator. So she has the opportunities to contact and interview and investigate UFO sightings or encounters, that sort of thing. So that gives us another avenue for podcast podcast guests, and so that's there's that too.
is that something that you think is going to be more of when it comes to incorporate that to the ghost walks and to other things in the future? What about if an UFO lands down on Bucky's roof or something?
Well, great. Call me. We want to be there. Me too. I want to be there too. Well, there'd be a lot of people saying, "Oh no, 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 it wasn't there. You just imagine that." So, but even right now, beginning July 2023, actually, was the first congressional hearing on UFOs, which the government now refers to as UAPs. Um, Unknown aerial phenomena. So there's a handful of congressmen that are pursuing the um, the Defense Department and defense contractors to learn what the government actually knows and is covering up. And as it would be, Congress is not routinely shared. That there's a lot there that has not been shared with Congress. There are billions of dollars that they call dark money or black money that's going to defense contractors over the years, and for what, we don't know. So that is something that's happening now. Uh, we're we're recording this in January. By March, we may know more and we may not. But
It's interesting because it's a world of the unknown.
yes, it is. Yes, we're interested in all of that now. It's and as far as that goes, I'm kind of the cryptid person. I, now, I have never seen a Bigfoot, but I've done a lot of research. And so, because it's bigger than just spirits or ghosts. It's bigger than that, and very often the same mindset of a person who believes in spirits is also more likely to believe in the broader world of UFOs, and I'm even cryptids. I use the word cryptids. That's the Mothman, uh, the
Loch Ness.
skinwalker, which is a very popular word right now, Bigfoot. It's a wide variety of things that are covered under paranormal. So, and like I say, very often the same people believe, and they don't have to believe, but they have an interest in and are open minded to all of these things. It's a great bunch of people to work with.
I bet. I bet. And just knowing that you're working with the unknown is just, you
Yes.
will not get the answer today nor tomorrow, probably. But you
Well,
will be part of something that will develop as time goes.
yes, yes. And at some point we will all know. We will all know. We may not know now, but there will be a time when we all know. So there's that.
That's kind of interesting. But I'm looking forward to the day when a UFO is landing on Bucky's roof because
Well, they're out there. They're building them all over Texas, and certainly they're lit up. So,
well, the reason I'm taking bookies is
uh-huh.
basically the roof is flat and it's so large.
Oh
And
yes,
in my
yes.
mind, I don't think that UFOs are kind of small one, two people things. I think they're pretty big. So that's why I took Bucky's. I don't know any other.
Well,
Like, there's no building downtown they can do it.
well,
Land on.
I would disagree with you. I would respectfully disagree with you that they're all that big. Not necessarily. And I won't
You
say
don't want the beaver nuggets. They better come in a big bunch of them because I want to talk to them.
yes. Well, they can be. They can be any size, any shape, and something that I've learned recently from some of the video that's been released by the government, by Air Force or whoever. Apparently, they may be invisible to us as they are there.
It wouldn't
They,
surprise me.
they yes, they well actually the naval pilots that released what they've tagged the TikTok or Tic Tac and the gimbal, these videos that pilots filmed while they were in the air. Those pilots could not see those artifacts with their eyes. They were viewing them through an infrared camera in their helmet.
Mm.
So there you go. And more recently, a video has been released of a video. They're calling it octopus. This item has kind of a mass, a body mass, and then there are other things kind of hanging down from it. They've just kind of nicknamed it the octopus. It flew all around a U.S. military base in Iraq for about 20 minutes. No one saw it with their eyes, but the security cameras saw it. So we don't know what's out there, do we? And in that respect, same way as the spirit, a spirit they can reveal themselves to us or not.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So,
Yes.
a personal question here: you working with these spirits and all these ghosts? Do you feel them around you? Do you see them and feel them around you when you're out and about and or at a specific place?
Well, I am not a medium by any means. I'm not. particularly sensitive, and Brenda will say she's sensitive as a rock, but she has very good intuition. Um, we've learned to be aware, and very often you can feel pressure changes in an environment, like a barometric pressure,
Mhm.
falling. Now, yes, we have seen um, shadow people. We have seen them in the form of shadow peoples. Yes, with their own eyes on more than one occasion. Yes. Um, now we have. She and I have not experienced touch, but her son, my grandson, yes, he experienced touch. He was actually violently scratched, 3 scratch marks down his back under a heavy sweatshirt during an investigation at a middle school. And we had been invited there. He was he was in the girls' locker room. Now, there's got to be a lot of tension in there, and a middle school girls' locker room,
Wow.
and he was breaking the rules. He was provoking. He got his back scratched, and we have it on camera.
Jeez, that's
Yes,
that's
um,
amazing.
he's been pinched and touched. Um, I have not, and I don't believe that Brenda has either. We've certainly been out there where we were available for that. Um, but yes, I have seen shadow figures. Brenda has seen shadow figures. I mean, with her eyes, not just through a video camera or a still camera. We've seen them with our eyes. She has heard audible EVPs. Now, on those occasions, she could hear this going on, but could not understand what was being said. But we had our audio recorders on. So when you download that into an audio recording software and you can amplify it, yeah, on one occasion they were saying, and we were at a very, very active haunted location where that we had actually paid to go visit, and she's been there 3 times. I only went twice. I'm not going back. They were saying, "There she is. Let's cut her up. Let's cut her up. Let's cut her up."
Oh,
Ha, ha.
no.
And then
That's
a laugh.
that was
Ha, ha,
blessed.
ha. But then on the second occasion, she heard the voice of a small child. And when she heard it, we couldn't understand it. But when we played back the recording, it said, "Will you play with me?" And then in a few minutes later, it's like it was following her through the house, and it said "mommy" twice. So yes, sometimes we hear, see, or feel something, um, and does that answer your question? I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But hopefully, what we hope is that we have either video or audio or photography to confirm that. And she and I experienced the same. We saw the same shadow person on uh, 2 different occasions in the Anderson building. We were in the basement, and I had not told her that I saw this because at the time there were a lot of people there, and I didn't choose talking to want to interrupt her. But I distinctly saw, looking kind of behind, looking at the door behind the guest, I distinctly saw a figure. Now, I'm not saying there was no face, just this dark mass shaped like a human,
Mhm.
and it darted out and looked around the door frame, like it was looking around at us, and then it ducked back when it saw me looking. She had the same experience. I had not had an opportunity to share that with her. And then when she said to me, "Mom, you'll never guess what I saw," and but she had a group that night of some ladies, and they were pretty nervous. they're really nervous. And granted, they were in a basement that used to be a morgue, you know, and they were pretty nervous. And when she saw it, she hollered out and said, "Look, you know, I just saw it." And she said, "By the time I looked around, they were already going up the stairs. They were leaving. They didn't see it, but they saw her reaction." So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Almost gives me chills though.
Yes, yes. Well, she runs toward them. I don't know. I'm not afraid because I do not believe that the spirits can hurt us. Now, they could make us hurt ourselves, certainly, but for the most part, I don't believe they hurt us. But now she will run toward one, but I'm content to just kind of lag behind and take pictures.
Right, just watch them, and I watch you, you watch me, and that's it.
That's it. Yes, yes. You know, I never in my wildest dreams saw myself doing this kind of work. And I don't believe she did either. And, um, you know, it's something that evolved. I've always been interested. I've always been interested in ufology. But I never dreamed I would have an experience to do these things. And I, having said, you know, I've got a background in financial analysis with the government,
Mhm.
and but I never doubted these things were going on. Now, most of my colleagues, I would warn you that yeah, they've got big doubts about it and they don't believe it. But
True.
that's okay. I don't care. I believe it. I've experienced it. I've seen and heard and felt things that um, most people don't get to experience, and I never dreamed that I would. And I'll make no apologies to anyone for doing this.
It's a very, in my opinion, very fun and very different thing, and even if you don't believe, just as I've said before here today, listen to all the stories and history. Just makes it
Yes.
worth it. Even if you don't see anything, if you don't experience anything, just that part of the story of a town like Terrell, Texas, it's a lot of fun.
Well, Terrell has a you know, a multifaceted history, and it exists because of the railroad, and of course, you know, it runs just a block off of the main street. And the paranormal theory is that the magnetic energy that those metal wheels on metal rails, that magnetic energy that is thrown off, is what a spirit can feed on to manifest in any way. And that track is busy. It is busy, busy. We believe that that is part of the reason that the downtown area, besides the historical business, is so active. And also, some of your listeners may know about ley lines, and that's kind of an invisible line of magnetic energy that connects two places of great historic um, um,
Value.
value. Yeah, and we believe that Terrell sits between two paranormal running ley lines. So water, lots of things. These old buildings that have quartz in the rock, we believe that that quartz can hold that spiritual energy. And so there's a lot of factors like that that we believe make downtown Terrell such a hot spot. But you know, Terrell was at one time, this main street had, well, they had seven theaters. It had a multitude of saloons. And we learned through our research that on a fire insurance, an old fire insurance company's map, they would designate a building as saloon, or it might be saloon and billiards. We learned through a historian that when it said billiards, that meant a house of prostitution. So, you know, so it wasn't just a saloon. Now a lot of them were just saloons, you know, but it um, there were multiple saloons. Now gambling was not legal then, but nevertheless, there was gambling. There were the spots, and like I said, there were seven at one time. There were seven live theaters. Uh,
That's a lot.
yes, on it. Now, of course, there were restaurants and stores. It was a busy place, but when there's a nearby town, it's a what Kaufman is what maybe 20 miles away.
20, 25 miles
Yeah,
south of Terrell.
that is actually the county seat.
Hmm.
Now they poo-pooed when the railroad uh, solicited them to come through their town and make a stop. They poo-pooed it. They didn't want it.
Okay.
So Robert Terrell, who was a founder here in this city, said, "Yeah, you come here. We will get you the land, and if you will stop in Terrell." Of course, this whole country was cotton country, and that is how the railroad is how they got cotton to market. So they made a stop here in Terrell, and so it boomed. So you had that was also a factor in the state of Texas building the what was then known as the Terrell Asylum. It is a mental health facility operated by the state of Texas. It is still there, still in operation, because the railroad gave it. It was easily available to people to get to it, and so there were a lot of factors that made the railroad instrumental in Terrell's success.
As much as we hate the woof woof,
Oh yes, we had on one occasion we left a audio and video camera running overnight. Well, we've done it more than once, but on this one occasion, you go back, so I've got like 8 hours of audio to listen to, and about every 5 minutes, it's the train. Literally, literally about every 10 minutes, and it is probably a mile. This house was probably a mile to the train track, but of course it was night. It was quiet and the sound. I was amazed at how often the train ran during the night. And now that's contemporary times. It's still a busy track, and Amtrak runs on it as well.
all the time.
Mhm.
All well, Mary Jo, thank you so much for joining me. Anything you want to add before we close up this hour?
Oh well, I thank you for giving us the opportunity to let people know about the Ghost Walk here, our investigations, and the podcast. Our podcast is Terrell Paranormal Talk. It's on any of your podcast platforms,
And
and
I'm
we
also
have.
going to put all
I will,
the
yes,
historical
I will.
media
I
there
will
in
send
our
you all that link so you can add that, and we have.
podcast.
You can go online. It's terrellghost.com, terrellparanormal.com. You just Google Terrell Ghost and you'll get us.
You literally will. So thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you so much because we love to talk about it. We love to tell people about it. We really do.
Absolutely. Well, thank
And
you so much for joining me. And for everyone out there, I will see you in 2 weeks. Have a good day.
thank you
Bye,
so much.
everybody.
Bye bye.